Something I really learned in Israel about myself anyway, and about spirituality in general, is that it's something very personal, and that my Jewish identity is something I can shape however I want, and I don't have to use anybody else's methods, because when I finally let go of that insecurity, I was able to have a spiritual experience. Hi, my name's Ariel DiOrio. I'm currently a sophomore at Massachusetts College of Art and Design, and I have been a member of the Temple Shalom Emeth congregation since I was like 5 years old. And recently I traveled to Israel on a Birthright trip in January. Birthright is an organization that has a number of different kinds of trips to take students and recent college graduates to Israel at low cost. I visited a number of different cities and got to see all the big historical sites, such as the Western Wall and Tzfat, and I got to see Independence Hall in Tel Aviv. And additionally, we got to interact with a number of different kinds of people, Jewish Israelis and Arab Israelis alike. And we also did some community projects, like helping with a community garden in Tel Aviv, and we got to meet some of the children there, so that was a lot of fun as well. One of the most powerful evenings was when we went to the Negev desert and spent the night in a Bedouin tent. That was truly powerful. It was a completely different experience from anything I've ever imagined, and it was very spiritual. We got to watch the sunrise in the Negev, so that was probably one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. There are probably a number of goals of the Birthright program, namely just to allow young people to experience Israel before they get, too old to travel, or to be able to spare the time anyway. There's probably a number of other motivations behind that, like getting Jews to move to Israel and getting Jews to see other sides of Israel than what are mentioned on the news in the American media. I'd say Israel definitely affirmed and maybe changed a little bit my identity as a Jew. I remember when I first went there were all these kids on my trip who were really excited to go see sites like the Wailing Wall and other important religious monuments, because that was what was really important to them. And when I went, I felt like that wasn't something I could relate to that made me feel more Jewish. It was just a historical monument, I guess. When I went to the Western Wall, we went twice on my trip, and the first time I went, and I put a note in there, which my grandmother had asked me to put in honor of my grandfather, and I touched the wall, and I looked at everybody around me, and it was very strange. I was thinking like, oh, well, how do I react? I should look at how everybody else reacts. And I said the Shema quietly, and I stepped back, and I looked around again, and all these people seemed to be having these profound religious experiences, and I was thinking, I can say the Shema anytime with any wall. I don't think this is particularly profound for me. With that in mind, the next time I went to the wall, I tried to come at it from a different angle and not just try to copy the way everybody else was experiencing it, and go with what has made me feel spiritual in the past. The most interesting thing I learned on my trip was how to be spiritual, I guess, was to how to mix religion and spirituality, which I think a lot of people just assume are one and the same, but which, in my opinion, are definitely two different things. I would definitely recommend that everybody find their way to Israel at some point, because it's a very eye-opening experience, and Birthright is a great way to do that, but everyone should go.
הבטחתם יונה, ברקיע יש עית, אחי סיפרד ראינו קץ זה לא עלה של זית. חיים בחלום, כולם מדברים על שלום, אבל יורים נוקצים מושכים סוחקים את ההדק. בעולם שפיגועים, אנשים תמימים עוד מדברים, חיים באשליית הצדק, הם מרחיבים בעם את הסדק.
עובר טירוף יומיומי כדי לשרוד, לא רוצה לחיות כדי להילחם, סף נלחם כדי לחיות, נוטע תקווה, משריש שורשים, מגן בגופי על החלום שלא יתנפץ לרסיסים. די מספיק עם הכאב, מספיק עם הדרמה, שנה שהאדמה מדממת, לא נמה ולמה